You are beautiful. You are powerful. You are worthy.
Hey beautiful, welcome back for another episode of Kiya Convos. I'm your host, Kate Anwar, and also founder of Kiya Cosmetics. Today is another solo episode. I thought I would just sit down and talk to you guys about the 12-week year, just because it's something that I'm trying for the first time ever this year. And I thought it would be a good thing to talk about. I know it was a bit of a hot topic last year. That's when I first came across the concept. I know the whole concept was created by the author, I've got his name here actually, Brian P. Mora and Michael Lennington. I have read the book. It was so good. I love the concept. I then watched so many videos on YouTube of different people that started aligning themselves with the concept of having a 12-week year as opposed to, setting goals for the entire year, and just seeing how they felt more productive. They felt that they achieved a lot more within those shorter time spans. I thought, you know what, this year I'm going to give it a go. And it's going well. We're still in January. If you're new to the concept, essentially you treat a quarter or 90 days, 3 months as your year. So what I've done is, personally, I've set goals to reach by the end of March. So, for example, instead of saying, oh, okay, I want to be healthier and exercise by the end of the year, I've said by March, I want to lose this much weight. So one of my goals was to launch the podcast and upload a certain amount of episodes by the end of March. So far, by the grace, I am doing that. The podcast is here. And we are well on the way with episodes. I've got quite a few recorded now. So, but essentially it's just to make things a lot easier. So for example, for myself, at the end of every week, I check in. Okay, so I said I'm going to do this by the end of March. What do I need to do to make sure it happens? It kind of keeps you focused. It keeps you excited about your goals. It's not like, oh, okay, I've still got 11 months to achieve something, because it's a shorter time span. So I'm enjoying it so far. And I think that it's a really interesting concept. And I think it's quite helpful for those of us that struggle with consistency and even motivation. I find that by doing this, I've been a lot more motivated to achieve my goals, just because it's such a short window. I'm like, I basically have 2 months left to get these episodes filmed. So I'm literally inviting guests down, trying to book them in as soon as possible, trying to get the studios booked, etc. Whereas if it was just like, okay, I want to just launch a podcast and have some episodes, I wouldn't be as motivated to get things done. So that's just my personal experience so far. But if you are interested in the concept of doing the 12-week year yourself, here's just a really quick detailed breakdown on how to do it and maximize your goal achievements, essentially. So firstly, it's set 1 to 3 really big goals that you aim to achieve within that 3-month period. No more than that, otherwise it starts to get a bit complicated. So like I mentioned before, for myself, it was sort of get the podcast launched, including the amount of episodes that I wanted to have recorded and uploaded by the end of March. It was lose a certain amount of weight. I'm not going to tell you how many pounds, but I do have a certain amount of pounds that I want to lose by the end of March. And my other one was, it's a bit broad, but it's be a bit more organized. So for me, that looks like maintaining my Google Calendar and making sure everything gets into my Google Calendar far enough in advance and sticking to it, because I have the issue of putting things in and then not checking and missing things. But yeah, so far it's going well. Essentially, just don't overwhelm yourself with too many different priorities, and focus on 3 big things. The goals don't have to be humongous. Let's be reasonable. It's got to be something you can realistically achieve within the 3-month time span, but stretch yourself a bit. The next step is to break those goals down into actionable weekly steps. So for example, week 1, let's just use the podcast for an example. Week 1, I'm going to research the guests that I want in this 3-month period. and draft outreach emails. Week 2, I'm going to send the emails and start scheduling in the studio sessions. Week 3, I have my first recording. I think you get the drift. So it's basically creating a strategy. So not just having one big goal and somehow you're going to achieve it. No, you have to actually put the strategies and the procedures in place to go for it and achieve it step by step. And I find that a lot easier because breaking it down over a 12-week period is a lot easier than trying to break down a huge goal to reach by the end of the year. It wouldn't really work. The third step is to track your progress. So I did mention before, I check in every it's usually a Friday. I'll just check back in, go back over my goals. I'll see, okay, you didn't work out the last 2 days, so you need to get back on it. Or, okay, you did all your outreach emails, well done, pat on the back, you're getting there. So just check back in. And I don't even think it's a point of sort of getting onto yourself and be like, oh no, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. It's just to make sure you're staying focused, refreshing your mind that, okay, I do want to achieve this. Just refocusing, re-energizing yourself and making sure you stay consistent. So that's the point of, having the weekly check-ins and keeping an eye on your progress. A good idea for this as well is just to pick something that you can use as a unit of measurement to make sure you are making steps towards your goals. So if it's weight, that's saying, okay, I want to lose this many pounds a week. And then you just check in to see how many pounds you lost. With the podcast scenario, I want to make sure I've reached out and secured this many guests each week. So I would use that as my unit of measurement. So that's the basic premise for doing the 12-week year. Other things are really, really helpful. So using something or someone to keep you accountable. So if you've got the units of measurement and you know that you have to hit this target, put it somewhere and just really hold yourself accountable. If you're really just not hitting the goals week after week, one, you can reassess and see if it was a realistic goal for you to achieve, or you can look at what you're doing, where you're failing, and how you can change something just to ensure that you are making those milestones. Or you can have an accountability partner. You can have someone that's on the journey with you, doing their own 12-week year, or just there to encourage you and motivate you and make sure you're hitting your targets as well. There are so many benefits to doing a 12-week year. I think one of the main things is time scarcity. We all know that we'll have 3 months to do an assignment. And then when it gets to those final weeks, you're like, oh my gosh, I need to do the assignment. Let me start doing it. Let me go. It just really builds that pressure. Some people work a lot better under pressure. I used to lie and say I do. I do, but you're not as productive. You're not as effective. Things could be so much better if you gave yourself the proper amount of time, allocated amount of time. But by giving yourself 12 weeks, you're sort of putting yourself under a good amount of pressure to say, okay, I've only got 12 weeks. What can I do in this time? And I find that it definitely eliminates procrastination as well. Also, with it only being 12 weeks, you have enough time before the end of the year to say, okay, maybe this wasn't realistic. This isn't quite working. How can I adapt this or change this or pivot slightly to make it more effective to me? Or maybe your goal has changed. You've seen something and you think, okay, you know what? I want to go in a different direction. You've got enough time instead of slowly procrastinating, taking your time to hit the goal. And then by the time you hit it, you then decide, oh, okay, this isn't quite what I wanted. And you've just wasted 6, 8, 12 months of the year. So I find that's a really good way to keep you sharp, keep you focused, and keep you agile as well. But yeah, so for me personally, I think it's going well. I'm on track so far. I will keep you guys updated with how my journey is going with the 12-week year. But I think, yeah, so far so good. Fingers crossed. And it's definitely not something you have to do in January. Don't feel like you've missed out. If you've only just come across the concept, it's 12 weeks. So you can start at any time. You could start it today and decide that for the next 12 weeks up until whenever, you're going to try this method, see if it works for you. I think it will be really beneficial for you to try, especially if you're someone who finds that you struggle with consistency or remaining focused or actually hitting your goals year after year. I think it's a good technique. I've decided I'm not a huge fan of like New Year's resolutions just because I've never really stuck to them. So this is like an alternative way of hitting your goals, setting goals and reaching them without that pressure of a new year, new me resolution. I just find it overwhelming myself personally. But yeah, apart from, another level of accountability, but I shared it with you guys, I really wanted to share the concept of the 12-week year just because I think it's really important in terms of wellness as well. Firstly, it really helps to eliminate stress. I used to get so overwhelmed when I would make goals at the start of the year and I would get a few months in and it's like, I am nowhere. I've even gone backwards. I've lost focus. I can't even remember what my goals were. I've written them down. I can't find them. I just find it so overwhelming and stressful. I just find by doing things in small chunks, it's a lot more manageable and a lot less stressful. And another element that would cause stress, I think, is that when you try and set huge goals or loads and loads of goals, you can get overwhelmed and you can lose sight of what is really a priority. By only picking 2 to 3 goals, you're literally picking the most important things that you definitely want to hit or reach. So I find that's a lot better as well. It's just not so stressful on the mind. With that as well, when you're working towards your goals, you're not overloading yourself with too many different directions. Oh, I need to hit this goal and this goal. No, you're just aligned your focus and you're reaching these 2 or 3 things so much easier. Then you tick them off, you feel better, you feel like you've achieved something, you feel motivated, you feel confident that you can then move to the next step. And then that next step could be 3 completely different goals, but at least you've got the mind clarity and just mental space to be able to focus on those. So I think that's a really good point as well. Another big benefit of the 12-week goals is it encourages you to be consistent. Like I said, that's something that was a huge struggle for me, being consistent. But with the weekly check-ins, it keeps you aligned with having those metrics that you want to hit, every single week. That's keeping you on track, keeping you focused, knowing that you've got a limited time to achieve these things in. It's another thing that drives, and it definitely has reduced procrastination for myself. Just knowing that, okay, I don't want to be in the same position when it gets to March. I don't want to waste 3 months of my life by not, being consistent and doing what I need to do. So I think that's another really good point. It definitely aids with consistency. So if that's something that you're struggling with, then I think this is definitely something you should bear in mind. Another point is that it helps with positivity. I love positivity. I'm definitely an optimist, not a pessimist. So the fact that I can say each week, oh, I sent all those outreach emails, tick. Oh, I lost the amount of pounds I was supposed to, tick. It just feels really, really good. And even though they're just small steps, each small step adds up. And I just think that who doesn't want to be able to say, like, well done me, I'm hitting those goals, I'm hitting those weekly goals, etc. So I think that definitely fosters a more positive environment, a more positive mental space, as opposed to feeling like you've got this huge mountain to climb and you're getting nowhere. I think another big plus for doing the 12-week year is you're a lot more focused and intentional about what you're doing, what steps you're making, and just time blocking as well, knowing that you need to hit this goal by this time. So you need to do this each day. And with that, you've got so much more time to schedule in self-care. I love self-care, obviously. So I can say, okay, I've done this, and this. I don't really have much to do on Friday, so I'm going to do a facial, or I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to just chill and relax because I've hit my goals a day early this week. I think that is just a huge plus and benefit, just because you wouldn't feel like you're running out of time or wasting time because you've been so strategic and planned and scheduled out each week. So you get so much more time to take care of yourself and have fun. But remember, self-care doesn't have to be Pilates or facials, etc. It can just be a good day's rest. I am a huge fan of bedwetting. I schedule out at least once a month. I say this Saturday, I'm not doing anything. I'm in pajamas. I'm watching movies. I'm resting. I'm relaxing. I don't go on my phone for those days as well. And I wouldn't be able to do that if the rest of my week wasn't scheduled out and planned and effective, essentially. And finally, it helps with energy and productivity. I feel like that's just been a constant theme anyway throughout everything that I've mentioned. You're definitely going to be a lot more productive because you have a smaller window of time to get things done. So that eliminates procrastination and energy, just because I find that when we spend so much time doom scrolling, trying to figure out what we're going to do, trying to figure out, if this is the right direction, etc., by planning ahead and saying, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to do. I've laid it all out. All I have to do now is just do it. It eliminates that mental block of trying to figure things out. You're just following a plan, which is a lot better, a lot easier on the mind, a lot more calming and relaxing. You can just make your way through. It doesn't mean that you're not going to come across unexpected hurdles or difficulties or challenges. No, but I think that essentially your day-to-day will be a lot more manageable and easier because you're just focused. You know exactly what you need to do, and it's just going out and doing it. So that is about it for this video. I hope you guys found it useful. Let me know if you've heard of the concept before, if you've tried a 12-week year yourself before, what your experience was like. I would love to continue the conversation below. And that was about it for this solo episode of Kiya Convos. I hope you enjoyed it. We will be back on Sunday with another guest episode. Really excited for the conversation that's coming up next. As always, subscribe if you're not subscribed already to the channel. You'll be notified when we upload the next podcast episode, and you definitely don't want to miss it. And be sure to thumbs up and share with a friend that you think might benefit from hearing about the 12-week year themselves and possibly doing it as well. I recommend everyone tries it at least once, personally. But yeah, that's about it. Take care, stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.